Welcome back to the channel. This is Simon Cromer, and today we're going to be correcting sanding scratches and factory defects on this 42 HCB. So guys, let's jump into the video right now. The first thing to keep in mind real quick is this is not my job. This is my buddy's job. His name is Callahan from Callahan Marine Detailing. Guys, if you're looking for a good detail or a quality boat wash, this guy has a full crew. He has a boat washing crew, detailing crew, and he does amazing work. He has an amazing eye for detailing. So if you're in the South Florida area and you are on the East Coast, he services all of South Florida. So if that is you guys, reach out to this guy. He's amazing, reasonable pricing, and he will get your boat looking perfect. So reach out to him, and he's an amazing detailer. So guys, we're going to continue on with this video, and we're going to show you how to basically take out sanding scratches, take out factory defects. We're going to go over the common mistakes that people make while they're buffing, and then also some tips so that you can be the best buffer possible while you're working on your boat and trying to remove scratches, what to do, what not to do, all sorts of things coming your way, guys, right now. The first thing I want to go over is what I'm using. So I'm using a DeWalt buffer. It's a rotary buffer. Now the top two brands in the industry, which are the industry standards, are the DeWalt rotary buffer and the Makita rotary buffer. So it's kind of a preference thing. I enjoy the DeWalt a lot. A lot of people prefer Makita, but that's really just a preference thing. They're both really high quality machines. They're both super powerful. You know, they're not going to break down. They're going to last a really long time, if not years. And then if you drop them in the water, you know, people say that the Makita lasts a little better if you were to drop it in the water versus DeWalt. And I've dropped a DeWalt in the water, and it kind of stopped working. It would work sometimes, it wouldn't work sometimes. And I've heard Makita, people drop it in the water and it still works. So other than that, though, the triggers are a little different. The DeWalt has a fast trigger, whereas the Makita has a slow trigger. So also, you're going to have numbers and RPMs on the DeWalt, whereas the Makita, you're going to have Roman numeral numbers. So you kind of have to make those conversions and translations yourselves in terms of the RPM. So that's a little bit about the machines, but also I'm running a wool pad, a white compounding wool pad, single-sided, single versus double-sided. That is also another preference. My buddy prefers the single-sided, so that's what we're going with today. Really makes no difference. The nice thing about the double side is you got one extra side. And also, you don't have to worry about putting on the pad wrong, which means the pad will be perfectly balanced and it will be perfectly circular. So you're not going to have any jumping around or things like that. So that is an advantage of a dual-sided pad, which is my preference. But guys, they're both great pads, and really you can't go wrong with either one. Take note that we have taped off everything. So we taped off the vinyl to make sure that we're not buffing into the vinyl and damaging it. Also, all the stainless steel, all the bright work is taped off, because when you're running the wool pad, anything that the wool pad touches will take off anything on the stainless steel. And if there's little pieces of dirt in the stainless steel, it's going to come onto the pad and then it's going to go into the fiberglass. So you're actually going to scratch up the gel coat even more, and also you're gonna have a hard time wiping off the black stains that get into the gel coat. So if you're a detailer, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. But also, if you're a boat owner, it's important because you can scratch the surface. So it's important just to tape it off and be safe. Make sure you're not damaging your gel coat. You don't want to put more scratches into the gel coat, because that's our whole goal here, is to take out the scratches. So also, you're going to see that I'm buffing and I'm going at a pretty slow pace. You know, people have their preferences. But the main thing here is you want to start slow when you're running the buffer. I usually start off around 1,000, and we're using level R. So Stark level R is a good cutting compound that's going to break down into a polish because it's a diminishing abrasive technology type of compound. So you're going to put it on, and we have been putting it on the pad. So we're just putting the compound straight onto the pad. And you can use quite a bit of product when you're going with compound, because the goal here is to work it in and let it take out and eat at the scratches. So we're going to go side to side, we're going to go up and down. We want to get both different directions, because when you're going up and down, you're going to take out scratches horizontally, and when you're going horizontally with the buffer, you're going to take out scratches that are vertical. So it's important to go both ways, side to side and up and down. You want to go at a slow pace, and you want to really work it in and do multiple passes over and over and over again. And then you're going to want to turn up the buffer, finish it out around 1800 is what I like to do for Stark level R. And then you're going to wipe down the surface. Now this is going to remove a lot of the scratches. If you have wet sanded, it's going to remove all of the wet sanding defects, and you're going to be left with little micro scratches, which sets you up for a good polish, which will be the next step, which is not filmed in this video, but that would be the following step after this. So buffing is just a first step process. You want to be sure to follow that with a polish, because this is not ever going to take out all the scratches that you're looking for, especially on a factory defected boat or any compounding or any wet sanding that you're doing. This is never the final step. And really, when you're using a white wool pad and a heavy cutting compound like this, you should never finish with this. You should always follow up with a polish or something lighter, or you could even follow up with a yellow medium wool pad with Elevate, Minzerna, or any of those finer polishes to finish out the surface. My preference actually is a gray Lake Country foam pad, because this is going to really cut at the scratches. And if you're using like a Flex 3401 VRG or any forced rotation polisher, you're going to take out so many scratches. So you could do the foam pad, you can do a yellow medium wool pad, or you can even do a foamed wool purple pad. So you have three options here. In my opinion, if you want to take out swirls, you're going to want to go with the purple foamed wool pad. I'm not going to lie, Stark level R leaves a lot of swirls compared to other compounds, so that is a great option. You could follow up with the purple foamed wool on a rotary or a flex. Guys, there's so many options here. It really comes down to what your preference is, what kind of finish you're looking for. Some of it comes down to knowledge and what you think could be the best finish possible. Or you can run multiple steps. You could do a purple foamed wool pad, and then you could follow that up with a foam pad. It depends on how much work you want to do, how much time you want to put in, how much effort, how many micro scratches you actually want to take out of the gel coat. I know this was a lot to take in, so let's run over this really quickly again. So step number one, you're going to sand down the boat, right? You're going to sand it down. You're going to go as aggressive as you need to. This video is not about sanding, so we're going to sand down to 2,000 to 3,000. After we do that, we're going to go to the white wool pad. You always want to start with the white wool compounding pad. This is where you're going to run your heavy compound, and we're using Stark level R today, but there are other heavy compounds that you could use that work good, that leave less swirls, but they might also leave more scratches. So there's all kinds of options there. But after you're done with the compounding step, you then have three options to choose from after that, and that is the yellow medium wool pad. And this pad is used if you want to stick with the rotary. Say you don't own a 3401 Flex VRG, you're going to want to stick with the rotary, run the medium yellow wool pad, and you're going to get a decent and pretty good finish out of this if you run Elevate on that pad. The other option, if you do have a Flex or you do have a rotary and you want to remove a ton of swirls, so if you maybe didn't do the best job compounding, maybe you're new, maybe there's a lot of swirls just for some reason, you can run the purple foamed wool pad. This is your best option for taking out swirls. And guys, if you did do a really good job compounding and you want to cut out a ton of scratches, the most amount of scratches possible, you take your Flex 3401 VRG, and you're going to take the gray Lake Country foam pad. This is the hard foam pad, and this is going to leave an incredible, amazing surface. It's going to take out a ton of scratches. It's going to leave the best finish So those are your 3 options in terms of the following step after this compounding step that we're doing right now. So many options for what you're looking for, and you can even run multiple options. So you could run a yellow medium wool pad, and then you could follow up with the foam, or you could run the purple foamed wool pad, and then you could follow that up with the foam. So foam is always going to be your last option if you do choose one of those routes. It all comes down to how much time you have. Of course, us as detailers, it comes down into our budget and what the customer is looking for. But guys, this is the full knowledge. This is the full steps of everything that you need to know for the compounding through the polishing steps to finish out the gel coat properly. Let's talk about tight spaces, because obviously as a detailer, and sometimes people don't show this stuff, but you have to buff around tight spaces. You have to buff around cleats, around any fittings that are on the toe rail or on the gunnels, and there's all kinds of stuff to deal with, especially the cleats. The cleats are definitely the hardest, but so what we're going to do is we're going to tape it off like I said, and you're just going to take the buffer and you're going to run a full 360 all the way around. You're going to do this multiple times as I'm doing here. So also, when you get into cleats, guys, it gets very difficult, and you got to be careful, and you want to run the buffer slow so that you're not kicking up the buffer. It smacks you in the face or something like that. Now, I've never had that happen, but I've had very many close calls. Also, on this vinyl piece, you have to turn the buffer and just make it work. But that's why we tape it off. We tape off the vinyl because we don't want to damage it, because you will damage the vinyl if you get the wool pad into it, and that's never something you want to do. Take care of your investment. Take care of your boat. You bought the boat, it's expensive, and it's important that you take good care of it, or the detailers that are working on it take proper maintenance and care of your boat. So yes, there's no easy way around this. This is just boat detailing for you. When you get in between cleats, you'll have to use your hand to get inside there, or you'll have to use a really small 1-inch pad. Now, a lot of detailers actually don't do this. They don't use the 1-inch pad. It's hard sometimes, and sometimes you need multiple people, or it helps to have an extra hand. So yeah, it is boat detailing. It's a lot. It's different than car detailing. It's not just okay. I used my hand here and it works out. But what I normally do is I'll finish it down. So if I do level R by hand, I'll follow with elevate by hand, and then ignition by hand, and then I'll get into some of the car polishes, because when you're doing these compounds by hand, you're not able to get a good buff, so you have to finish down lower in grit. So that's my advice. If you're doing cleats and you gotta do it by hand, just finish down really low. Go through multiple steps of compounds and polishes, and break it all the way down to 2,000 to 2,500 grit polishes, just to get that surface nice, clean, and fresh and shiny to match the rest of the boat. So that's my advice on tight spaces, which you're going to run into, because obviously we're using a 7-inch wool pad, so we're not going to be able to get every single area on the boat. I think it's also worth mentioning that you don't have to put the compound directly on the wool pad. You can use an applicator, put the compound on the applicator, and then put the applicator onto the gel coat. So that's my preference. The pad will build up if you put it straight onto the pad. But it's going to build up regardless. It's just going to build up faster if you put it straight directly on the pad like we're doing today. But I was using a spur tool. If you just noticed, like 30 to 45 seconds ago, a spur metal tool that will clean your pad and get all the compound off. So that is a very helpful and good tool. And once you start building up the pad, you're going to have to use that about every 1 to 2 rounds of buffing. So you're going to be using it a lot, and you're going to be constantly getting the compound off the pad, so you have a nice clean pad. And that's the key, guys. You want to have a clean pad when you're buffing. Don't let it build up. Make sure you get all the compound off. It's okay, it's going to build up over time, but just make sure that you get all the compound off the pad every round or every 2 rounds. And that's going to help you a lot when you're detailing. It's going to leave less swirls, and it's going to leave better finishes. Now, if you stayed with me up to this point in the video, you are in good luck because we're going to cover the 3 mistakes people make when buffing, and then we're going to cover the 3 things that people can do to make sure they're going to be really successful and have excellent results while buffing. So if you are a boat owner or a new detailer, this is perfect. So stay with me till the end. We're going to cover all this right now. Mistake number 1 that people make, and this almost happens to everyone who is new to buffing, is they are too fast with the buffer. They're either moving too fast or they're not working in the compound long enough, and that's the big thing, is they're not working in the compound long enough, guys. You have to work it in and go over it multiple times and break it down fully into the polish. People will run way too quick with this. The compound will never fully break down, especially if you're using a compound that is not a diminishing abrasive. So if you're using like Ardex Super 600, or you're using some other really heavy like 3M or Presta compound that doesn't break down into a polish, this is a huge mistake because you're actually compromising the results, because if you don't break it down long enough, you're not going to get that finish that you're looking for. And when you wipe off, it's going to be such a pain and a struggle to wipe off the surface, because you're literally wiping off sand grits that are still on the gel coat. So that is number 1 mistake from anybody, is too quick with the buffer. They don't buff in the compound long enough and let it break down. So if you are new, if you are a beginner, I would suggest that you do use something like Level R, because it's going to break down into a polish pretty fast. So this will help you and make sure that you're going to get the best finish, regardless of, if you're new and you're not exactly sure what you're doing. Mistake number 2 is that people use the wrong speeds. So when you're compounding, it's important to always start slow, especially when you're taking out deep scratches or sanding marks. Always start slow. I know Stark Level R says start at 1800 to like 2200. I always start at 1000 and work my way down or up to 1800. So I believe that's important. You want to let the compound work as much as it can before it breaks down. But you do want to finish at that high speed though, because that's going to create heat and that's going to kind of melt the gel coat a little bit, take out some of those scratches. So it's all important in what you're doing. When you're running polishes, it is important to run faster speeds, because you do want to heat up the surface. When you heat up the surface, you heat up the gel coat. That allows the gel coat to move around, and that's how you're taking out the scratches, is you're allowing the gel coat to move around. You don't really want to take off the gel coat. You just want to heat it up, allow it to move around and kind of fill in the different scratches the gel coat has. So that's the whole purpose of that. So that's the difference between a compound and a polish. Low speeds versus high speeds. Know the difference. Know why you do one versus the other. Low speed is going to allow more cutting time, whereas high speeds are going to allow the gel coat to kind of heat up and kind of move the gel coat around to take out scratching defects. Also, high speeds will take out swirls. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is the higher the speeds, the less swirls that you're going to have in the gel coat. Mistake number 3 is only going in one direction. So I see this a lot from like marina detailers. They're just going in one direction, side to side, and they're not going up and down. Really, detailing, it's a finesse, it's an art, and it takes a lot of time. You want to move your body with the buffer, make it easy on your body. Go up and down, side to side, cut out scratches that are horizontal, cut out scratches that are vertical. And that's the importance of going both ways. You're also going to eliminate swirling. So guys, that's the 3rd mistake that I see, is detailers or boat owners only going in one direction. Make sure you're going both directions, vertical and horizontal. You're going to take out more scratches, you're going to leave a better finishing surface, and you're going to eliminate more swirls. Here are 3 tips for being successful and being extremely efficient at buffing and doing it at a very high level. So let's jump into these 3 tips right now. Obviously, all 3 of the mistakes need to be reversed, but here are 3 good tips to become an effective and really a high level detailer. Tip number 1 is turn the buffer slightly on an angle to concentrate the pressure. So when you're buffing, you don't want to have it completely straight and completely parallel to the surface. You want to turn it a little bit slightly on an angle, like I'm doing right here, because that's going to allow you to concentrate the pressure on one area of the boat This is really important when you are compounding because this is going to create more heat in that area. It's going to take out more scratches in that area. Whereas if you keep the pad flat, it's very even, and you're actually not going to be doing a whole lot of cutting. So always make sure to turn that pad slightly on an angle. This is going to allow you to get the most cut. It does concentrate the area smaller, so you will have to do more passes, you will have to cover more area, and it's going to take more time, but this is really effective for having really good results. Tip number 2 is use finesse, guys. Bend your legs, squat your legs, move your arms, allow the buffer to be a part of your body. Don't look at it separately. You want to move it. You want to have a nice flow, a nice energy with the buffer. Let it be a part of you. Move it as if it's part of your body. And this is going to allow so much angle. The angles are going to be perfect, and you're going to be able to hit every single area of the boat, because obviously the boat's going to curve around. It's going to change the surface depending on what you're working on. If you're working on the tow rail, it's going to have a curve to it. If you're working around cleats, so really just finessing the buffer, moving it in all angles, all directions, doing that 360 around any of those fittings is really important, and this will really help you a lot in terms of quality. If you want the boat to look the same around the entire boat, use finesse, allow that buffer to be part of your body, and move it super clean, super fresh, super easily. Don't be stiff. Don't just use your arms. That's also going to tire you out. So really just letting the buffer work with you, not against you. That's going to give you the most energy. It's going to allow you to work the longest period of time without burning out and getting tired. Tip number 3 is always keep the buffer moving. So never keep the buffer in one spot. Always keep it moving, no matter if you're going slow or you're going really fast. Keep it moving, because if you just sit there in one spot for a long period of time, you will burn the surface. It will heat up too much, the gel coat will turn brown, and you will have burned the gel coat in that area. So keep it moving. Now, people have mixed views on going slow versus fast. Sometimes it is good to go fast, like really fast over an area, up and down really fast multiple times. If you're really trying to heat up that surface, that's the best way to do that. Don't go slow, and don't stop in one spot and just sit there. Never ever do that. So you can go fast, you can go slow. When you're compounding, I recommend you go slow. But if you're trying to get out a really heavy scratch, there are times you'll see that one scratch in the boat in that one area, and you're like, I want to get this out. Yeah, sit there, heat up that area, go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Keep going and heat it up, but don't just sit there and sit on that area, because you will burn that area. And as a beginner, as a newer person to buffing, that will happen. So there's no limits, guys. You can go fast, you can go slow. Just never ever keep that buffer in the same exact spot for an extended period of time. Let's cover the 3 mistakes and the 3 tips really fast to refresh your memory. Mistake number 1, you're moving the buffer too fast and you're not working in the compound long enough. Mistake number 2, wrong speeds. You're either going too slow or too fast. Too fast for initial compounds and too slow for polishes. Mistake number 3, you're only going in one direction, whether that's side to side or up and down. And then the 3 tips for success and becoming a really efficient and high level detailer is turn the buffer slightly on an angle so that you can concentrate the pressure on one area. Number 2 is use finesse, guys. Let the buffer be part of your body. This will give you more angles, and it'll allow you to hit all parts of the boat. And then number 3, always keep the buffer moving. Never keep the buffer in one spot for an extended period of time. Guys, this will be a wrap to the video. If you liked the video, leave a like, drop a comment, and be sure to share this with other people. If you know a boat owner or a boat detailer who could use this information to help them, please be sure to share this. The more people we can reach, the faster we can grow this channel. And I'm always trying to come to you guys with the most educational videos in the detailing industry. Guys, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button now, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out.